Welcome to another edition of the Rome News-Tribune's Studio Central Face-to-Face. I'm Doug Walker, the Associate Editor of the Rome News-Tribune. My guest today is our Floyd County Tax Commissioner, Kevin Payne. Kevin has held that office now for a number of years after serving as a right-hand man to Jim Ford. And Kevin, I guess primarily one of the big things that we need to talk about is a change that's going to be taking place March 1st with yet another acronym that we'll all have to get to know, the TAVT, which is Title Ad Valorem Tax. Is that right?
That's correct. The Title Ad Valorem Tax, we had a massive new law that was passed last year by the legislature. It's House Bill 386, and we're calling it the Title Ad Valorem Tax is the official word. But starting on March 1st, it does change entirely the way we tax vehicles in the state of Georgia. And so we can go over those details, and it really it depends on where you buy your car from, whether it's going to be a savings or going to cost you more money. So there's a lot of details to it.
A lot of details and a lot of questions that could be asked, but I think probably the best thing that we can do is just sort of go through the scenario of buying a car. The old system, I go to buy a car, I pay a sales tax on that car, on the purchase, and then on my birthday, I pay an ad valorem tax based on the value of the vehicle. Beginning March 1, what happens?
Well, that's correct. Everyone's used to the old birthday tax, and then, of course, it's always been called the hated birthday tax, and so that's one of the reasons why the legislators, I don't think had any problem eliminating it. But starting March 1st, every purchase that's made after that date is sales tax exempt and exempt from the old ad valorem tax on your birthday. And all those vehicles will be subject to this new 6.5% title ad valorem tax. So it starts next year at 6.5%. It is going to increase in years to come. But before you can get that title transferred and before you can get your tag, you'll have to pay that new 6.5% fee. And of course, that's a big difference in and of itself, but depending on whether you buy from a dealership or whether you buy casual sale, person to person, could affect how big of a change that is from the current system. If you buy from a dealership today, you're going to pay 7% sales tax. And you're going to come in and you're going to get your tag and title, and you're going to pay on your birthday for as long as you own that vehicle. Of course, starting March 1st, you're not going to pay sales tax, you're not going to pay any more ad valorem tax, and before you drive out, you're only going to pay this new 6.5% fee. So it's a savings over the 7% you are paying right off the bat, and every year you own that car, you're going to save more money because obviously you're not going to be paying that ad valorem tax on your birthday. Conversely, if you buy a vehicle from casual sale, if I buy your car today, I can come in without paying any tax and get a tag and title, and I pay, of course, on my birthday, the ad valorem tax. On March 1st, if I buy your car, I've got to come in the tag office and pay a 6.5% fee of whatever the value of that vehicle is, 100% value. So if it's a $10,000 car, it's going to be $650 before I can get a tag. That's a big change.
I know that some folks were concerned that this might have an impact on vehicle sales, but that shouldn't be the case since you're paying 6.5% as opposed to 7% in Floyd County at any rate. That's
correct. It certainly won't have any effect on dealer sales. It could have an effect on casual sales, or it certainly puts casual sales and dealer sales, whether new or used, on even footing. So no longer will there be that savings if you buy a casual sale vehicle because you're not paying sales tax. So a casual sale or a dealer sale they will be on even footing now, have the exact same 6.5% fee, and this may drive more sales to dealerships possibly because you don't have that tax savings. And I'm sure the dealerships are probably happy about that. Who knows, it may help the economy a little bit in that way. But really it puts them on an equal footing, but I don't think it's going to affect sales of vehicles. Now, as we get into the weeds a little bit more, it could affect lease purchases and some of those type items as well.
All right, now let's just say, and I'll use myself as an example here, let's say I acquired a new vehicle in the fall of 2011. In 2012, I paid my birthday tax. What happens this year on my birthday? Do I still pay an ad valorem tax, or is that just gone and I pay the tag fee?
No, there'll be no change on anyone who had a vehicle before January 1st, 2012. So I myself had a vehicle I've had for 2 years, so as long as I have that vehicle, I'm still going to pay the birthday tax on my birthday. Of course, it goes down each year as the value of your vehicle goes down. But you cannot get into this system unless you purchased a vehicle in the last year, and I will go over those details as well. But anyone who already had a vehicle that they owned before January 1st of 2012, nothing changes. You're still going to pay that birthday tax, the ad valorem tax, as long as you own that vehicle.
So I was 2 months too early.
Well, that's correct. That's correct. But, you know, it could save you some money possibly, but, you know, eventually you're going to buy another car, and eventually everyone, for the most part, is going to get into this new system. It just takes some people a little bit longer.
What about an individual, say in a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, assuming no changes are made in the law, and I decide I want to get a new vehicle, and I want to pass this vehicle I've got now down to somebody else within the family.
Okay.
How does that work?
Well, there's two scenarios. If someone comes in after March 1st and they've got either an inherited vehicle or just a vehicle between immediate family members, you know, parents, children, siblings, grandparents, brother, sister, something like that. If it has never been paid, if it never has been under this new system where you paid the 6.5%, you can either pay that fee or stay in the old system. Now, once a vehicle has paid the 6.5%, it gets kind of confusing, but you know, let's say you buy a car after March 1st and then want to give it to a sibling. That sibling will have to pay 0.5%. So there is a discount for immediate family members if that vehicle has been subject to the new 6.5% title tax. Immediate family members or an inherited immediate family member would only have to pay 0.5% on that.
Clear as mud.
Well, clear as mud. It does get confusing when you dig into the weeds a little bit.
How did this system come about? I mean, were there other models in other states, or did our legislators just come up with this on their own?
I don't know that there's any other model exactly like this that I have found. There are some other states that maybe don't have ad valorem tax on their birthday. A lot of them do, but some may not have that, but their tag fees are higher. You know, tag fees may be $75, $100, $200. So that's a similar model, but this really is just a different way of coming up with what we hope is the same amount of money. There's a guarantee in this law that statewide we're going to collect the same amount of money we did previously on ad valorem tax for motor vehicles. There's not a guarantee for Floyd County or any particular municipality or school system. They're going to get the same amount of money, but statewide they're guaranteeing that. Now, you know, what happens if the revenue's not there? That's a good question, but they have built in some safety nets. And of course, that 6.5% fee by law goes up to 6.75 in 2014, goes up to 7% in 2015, and it can go up as high as 9%, depending on whether the revenue is coming in at the rate we're guaranteed or not.
What about if somebody were to buy, and I'm not going to advocate this, but what about if somebody were going to buy a vehicle over in Gadsden or up in Chattanooga, as opposed to actually purchasing a new vehicle here in Floyd County or in Georgia? How is it impacted there?
It doesn't change a thing. You know, today, if you bought that, of course, you still have to pay local sales tax if you're buying from a dealership, even out of state. But after March 1st, whoever titles that vehicle has to pay the 6.5% before we'll transfer the title or register the tag. So it doesn't really matter where you buy it, you're still going to have to pay this title tax fee.
And if I remember law correctly, and I may or may not, if somebody in Floyd County were to buy a car in Chattanooga, the tax on that would be based on your home state?
That's correct.
As opposed to, say, paying, well, let's say Alabama, because I don't believe Tennessee has a sales tax. But oh no, they don't have an income tax. They do have a sales tax. So if I bought a car in Alabama, they would charge me the tax that was applicable in Georgia.
You still would have to pay the sales tax today. And of course, all that goes out the window on March 1st because there is no more sales tax on motor vehicles in Georgia after March 1st. But as of today, you would still pay that sales tax, whatever the local sales tax is in your county, 7% here in Floyd County. But that's going away because sales tax on motor vehicles will be exempt in 3 weeks from Friday. So.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the transfer of vehicles, whether it's within a family or a casual sale. If in 3 years I decide to sell you my car and I'm independently wealthy and don't need a lot of money, and I sell you my car for $1,000, and you go in to get your title and transfer and do all of that, and the tax commissioner says, I don't care if you paid $1,000 for it. This car, the Blue Book, is $7,800. Is there a way to appeal that?
Well, there is, and that's where things get really interesting, and that's where they're going to get interesting in our tag office. The way this law is written, we will take the invoice or a bill of sale, if it's a casual sale, or whatever the Department of Revenue Motor Vehicle Assessment Manual says that vehicle is worth, whichever is higher. So in that case, if the assessment manual says it's worth $7,000, the law says we got to go with $7,000 instead of $1,000. Now, we also are able to take into account high mileage or if there's a damage on a vehicle, and we are going to have the NADA guide in our office in which you can account for high mileage. So hopefully we can work a lot of those out beforehand, but in that case, if we tell you you got to pay $7,000, you paid $1,000, you can appeal that. Now the way that appeal works, it's just like today. You're going to pay that vehicle and appeal it in the assessor's office, and then it's going to go through the regular assessment, may go to a Board of Equalization hearing. We have those now on vehicles, as a matter of fact. Not as many as we're probably going to have in this new system, but we do have them now. And if you win your appeal, you'll be issued a refund.
All right. Now, you are going to be having an event Monday evening, is that correct?
That's correct. Monday evening at the old historic courthouse on 5th Avenue. We're going to have a meeting at 5:30. And the public is welcome, and certainly any dealerships, and I've even had some banks and lenders that are interested in coming. And I'm just going to go over all the details of this and certainly have plenty of time for questions and answers, because I know there are a lot of questions about this, and there are a lot of different scenarios that people have to consider. So it's just going to be an open public forum to talk about the issues. I'll explain as best I can, and then I'll take questions and answers as long as people want to stick around and ask.
All right, we just want to wrap it up with a couple other quick questions about taxes in general, Kevin. Of course, government revenues have been declining, not just here in Floyd County, but all across Georgia and around the nation, really, for the last several years. How are taxes being paid? How are your collections at this point?
Well, the collections are actually stable as far as our collection percentage, but that's not because of a lot of hard work. Well, you know, in the last 3 years, our percentage of delinquent taxes have gone through the roof. But what that means is the number of parcels I have on tax sales goes through the roof. And so when I first took over 5-6 years ago, we were having 2-3 tax sales a year, maybe 300 or 400 parcels. Well, this last year I had 8 tax sales and well over 1,000 parcels. So that is what's happened. We're having that many more parcels go unpaid, that many more parcels get on the delinquent list, go on the tax sale. So tax sales really have come to where it takes a majority of my time. I mean, that's one of the more time-consuming things that we do in our office. And you know, like I said, for 8 months of the year, that's what I did last year, get ready for the next tax sale. And by doing that, we're able to get our collections up to 98, 99%, which is where we try to be. It's not a fun process, and there are a lot of properties now that are being foreclosed on, they're being abandoned, and we end up dealing with a lot of those. But it just takes a lot more work to get the revenue in, and sometimes it takes a little longer to get it in. But eventually you get it, but it's just you don't get as much of the current year as you like. You may have to get it the next year or two when you go through the tax sale process.
Well, there's obviously a growing reason that you don't see a lot of people lining up to run for tax commissioner.
That's true. That's true.
Well, Kevin, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming in. And again, Monday night at 5:30 at the historic courthouse on 5th Avenue. Thank you for being with us on the latest edition of Studio Central's Face to Face.